Good afternoon, friends. Welcome back to the channel. Another beautiful day out here on the homestead. And that's an understatement. As the temperatures are in the 50s, the sun is shining, the snow is melting, and that's nice. You know, we got a good 2 or 3 inch snow just before New Year's, and it's slowly melting. The last few days we've been in the 40s, and so it's soaking up into the ground. Last year, 2020, we didn't get a whole lot of moisture where I live. And so moisture is very welcome here. The big thing is we've been living in a construction zone for the last 7 months, 6-7 months, or whatever it be. We lived in our camper for 6 months, and that kind of sucked. But we have moved into the house. We live in there full time now. We have all the amenities we need. That's nice. We lived in there for a month and didn't have a toilet. We have a toilet now. A lot less than, or a lot more than some people have. You know, it did suck when we were in the camper or the house full time. We had to come out to the camper for a toilet or a shower use. Having to walk up here all the time wasn't the greatest thing, but beggars can't be choosers, right? So we do have about 1.5 acres of bare ground surrounding our house that is needing to be seeded. So hopefully I can do that this spring, or maybe earlier than that in the late winter. I'm not too awful upset about it, but when the wind blows up here, the wind blows and dirt flies with it. That's the big thing that I like the moisture for. It kind of helps keep that dirt down. And, I can tell you what, we had a couple of windstorms out here where the gusts were upwards of 60-mile-an-hour winds, where I was leaning into that dust. I had to put goggles on just to be able to see. And that's not going to go away. It's going to come back eventually, but I want to have a good ground cover to protect the soil to begin with, but to cut down the wind. And, we've been working in this construction zone for quite some time. Let me show you here. This is a good example of all the wind we've had up here recently. All this stuff here has been flipped and flopped. The chairs were all lined up over here. The benches lined up over here. That trampoline right there was in front of the camper for my kiddo. Well, now it's gone. It's over there. Not a big deal. Anyways, got a lot of plans for this year. I'm excited to get those plans going. Kind of top priority to the bottom priority. Let's kind of show from the... Actually, I don't even have a plan for this video to show you what's going to be happening, but I do have plans for a shop. Maybe it's not this year, maybe it's next year, maybe it's 5 years from now, but my plan up here is to build a shop. And when I first started looking at this stuff, I was going to do a steel barn, right? Well, a steel shop is expensive, very expensive. When I'm looking at 3 different sizes, I'm going to do a 40 by 60, a 40 by 80, or a 60 by 80 with taller side walls and taller doors. The bigger reason for the taller doors is so I can get taller equipment in. The tallest thing I own right now is a camper, but I could get a bigger camper later on, and I want to be able to pull it into the shop to work on it. So, a 12-foot entrance door is not unwarranted. It is not completely unheard of, and why not do it, right? Well, the problem comes down to the price comparisons of a pole barn or a steel barn. Especially they kind of grow whichever size you go to, but I don't have my numbers anymore. But just for S's and G's, say if I want to do a 40 by 60 steel barn, it was going to cost me $30,000, right? Well, when I first started looking at this property, when we first started developing it, before the house was even here, a pole barn, a wood pole barn with tin and everything, was $20,000. Well, then COVID came along, and the steel stayed the same, maybe went up a couple $1,000s, but the pole barn, because the price of lumber and everything else jumped, went to $30,000+ for that 40 by 60. That's a lot of money to invest in a structure that's half as strong as the steel barn. So, or steel shop. I am still trying to figure that out. It's hard to necessarily narrow that price in. We got to save some money yet for a shop. Do a little bit at a time if I need to. But the biggest expense right now for a shop to start off with, well, it's the concrete, because concrete is not cheap. around $6 a yard, or $6 a square foot, actually. Sorry, $6 a yard. That's like 15 bucks. $16 or $6 a square foot becomes pretty pricey. And so I'm looking at $40,000 in concrete alone for a very large shop that I want to build, especially having it be, you know, reinforced for the 2-post lift and the other things I want to be putting into that shop. So it is what it is. We'll deal with that later on. Hey, look at this. This ground thawing and freezing brings up the coolest stuff. Look at this spike. This is an old farmstead, guys. This is an old homestead. And I've actually come in contact with some of the people who have lived here over the time. Or at least grew up in the area. And they said there is one individual I talked to. He grew up in the area in the 70s. He remembered what this was right here. This was an old milking barn. I talked about this in videos past. This was an old silo, old feed silo. This is the bottom of it, actually. Actually went into the ground like 10, 15 foot. And of course turned into a trash pit. They knocked it out and dug everything out. But they tossed trash in there and filled it up. Of course, this was tossed away in the 70s, done with. I mean, you see that old metal can top lid right there? This is the 75th anniversary Pepsi Cola, 1973. So this was done with in the early 70s. There used to be a barn right here, which I've shown you before, I think. You can see the foundation, all this metal. I apologize for the wind. I can't find my tripod or my microphone. But there used to be a little milking barn right here, or a house or some sort right here at least. Concrete and rock foundation. I don't know if it's limestone or what it is. And then over here was the feed troughs for the milking barn, which they sat approximately right here. And there was a big trough, or when I first came out here, there was 2 troughs actually. And I thought they were just like a pad, but they were filled with dirt, and they came down, dropped up, came up, and then dropped down again. And they came north to south 40 foot. I was originally going to be I wanted to park the camper on that, or no, park the Connex box on that pad. And I'm glad I didn't, because they had to use this area for construction. But yeah, it was a feed and water trough actually, and that's what the individual I talked to the other day told me. Is he came out here when he was a kid with the farmer that lived here, and he helped him. And this is all that concrete for this trough, so you can actually kind of see that's the bottom of it right there, where that little dip is. I thought it was an old driveway or something, but no, it was a feed trough. And he said there were racks for the dairy cows to walk up to feed and water out of, and then they milked them, and then they put them back over here, and they did so on and so forth in this property. There are seemingly miles and miles and miles and miles of fence line through my side of the property. Not a big deal. And that's not fence line through my property. That's just fence. That's like, you can see a little strand of it that's been cut and laid down. So anyways, on top of the workshop, the shop that's going to go up there, that's probably getting too much wind. I am thinking of 2 places to put a chicken coop for proximity of being able to see it from my house. I could put a chicken coop in this area right here. Some nice flat, naturally flat ground right here between the trees for what trees we got. We've got water not too far away from it. Or, oh, look at that. More metal. Got a scrap metal pile right there. Or I could put a chicken coop down here next to our new well and between the power pole right there. That way it's right at the back door. I can flatten that ground out and the chickens can free roam, free range for the day. That'll be fine. Then I have other plans over here. We're gonna have a large 3 or 4 1,000 gallon water tank up there. It could be either rainwater collection off the shop, or I could fill it with my water well, have it gravity feed all the way down, and I lose, I think I calculated, from the house to the top, I lose 30 feet of elevation. So I've got about 15 to 20 to where I'm going of elevation loss. So up there by the shed, I guess I can put it right there. Up there by the shed, I'm gonna put a large water tank, trench it down, and over to here. And I've got this nice flat spot. This flat spot, my plan is to put another large water tank. And so I have 2 water tanks, 3,000 or 4,000 gallons worth of water right here. And that'll be high or lower. So the highest point of this water tank will be at the lowest point, or at least the lowest point up there, if not a little bit lower. And then down here, I'm gonna start my garden. My garden is gonna be, I don't know, an acre or so. I have started with the with a tilling of the ground, turning it over. Got a harrow, and I started turning this ground over here so I can see what was there. But I had to do some terracing. I don't have the ability to do tiles, of course, but do some terracing, some mowing right here, and help clean this up just to show me what I'm going to be working with. All right, so coming back to the garden real quick, I was saying like an acre worth of land for the garden is quite a bit of land. Probably too much to manage by myself, so I'll probably cut that back to an acre, or half acre, sorry, and then figure out how I can terrace the garden to have the best water usage possible. Another thing I want to do out here with the garden is, while I want to have the water tank down here, I also want to have a buried greenhouse, and that's actually my plans. One of the top things I want to do this year is have a buried greenhouse. A 10 by 15 or even a 10 by 20 hole in the ground where I can more or less grow vegetables year round. Having this be the top part of the greenhouse itself with a nice little peaked clear roof, that'll be nice. I can run the water right from the water tank into there without having it freeze too much. I'll use the geothermal effect, having the ground temperature, especially being 10 foot in the ground, heat and cool the greenhouse. In the summer it's going to be hot. In the winter it'll be cool but not freezing. What's up, Puppo? This is Trip. Come here. Trip's a Australian Shepherd Great Pyrenees mix, 11 months old, just a couple days ago, born on Super Bowl Sunday 2020. So he's not named after the Chiefs by any means, but he's a good puppy. Good farm dog, huh? You learning. Good old dog. Anyways, got all kinds of plans for the property planned out. I don't know what exactly is going to happen first. Of course, I've got a bunch of stuff for the house to get done yet. But we need to get chickens out here for several different aspects. I'll talk about those later on as to why we're doing this farming, this homesteading lifestyle. It's kind of a freedom type thing, but one of the things is this year we are definitely getting the chickens on the property. I just have to figure out the best thing, honestly. Do I put the chickens up here on this nice naturally flat spot, or do I put them down there by the new water well where the access to power and water is right there? It is also up here, but and the other thing, we're still working on the plans. I think I made a couple videos. This is an old water catchment pond. The old water well used to sit there right next to my bucket. It was an old windmill. And that drained into this. and the cattle fed out of it, drank out of it. Well, I don't know what to do with it. I have two options, two things to do. I can turn this into a fire ring or fire sitting area. I mean, it's a nice, 30 foot in diameter, 40 foot maybe, space. It's clear, kind of protected by the wind. Or I can use its potential, more metal, farmstead. Or I could use it to its potential, dig it out a little bit more, and turn it into a koi pond. Now, some people are gonna be like, why would you do that? Well, it'd be a nice place to come to relax. I could put a hammock between these trees. I could relax next to the pond, the koi pond. Of course, it won't be a swimming pond, but 4 or 5 foot deep. The water's not gonna freeze to the point where it's not gonna kill a fish. And I can dig this out some more, but I think I'm gonna do that. We'll turn this into that nice little sitting pond, nice little sitting area to relax with friends. Well, that's another project that's in excess of time and money otherwise. I'll tell you what, Copenhagen. I don't chew Chuck Copenhagen. Interesting. Wonder where that comes from. Man, sometimes you just gotta forget or remember that you forgot tools out twice. Clippers and a hoe. Anyways, that is a small tour of my property and plans for the year. Hope you guys follow along and check it out. I got so much stuff to do. I'm not on any deadline. I'm excited to get it done and should show you guys what it's going to turn into. So until the next video, you guys have fun. See you later.